Good afternoon, everyone. It's Rod here, and welcome back live to the Luang Prabang Wildlife Sanctuary in Laos. And I'm just here with dinner with two of our youngest cubs we have here at the sanctuary in Laos. You can see Morris there. He's quite an unusual looking cub because he has a white stripe down his nose, which you don't normally see on a moon bear, so it makes him very easy to recognize. He was rescued back in March. And behind him somewhere in the bushes there, I'm sure we'll show his face very soon, it's a little Lao rescue number 120, and he was rescued in May. An unusual rescue because he was seen in Luang Prabang town, just down the road from the sanctuary. Some people at the factory called us and said they saw a bear cub in the field next door to them, and we thought, no, there's no way there'll be a bear cub, it'll just be a puppy, but we'll go and check anyway. And we went along, and sure enough, there was a bear cub hiding under a piece of sheet metal in the field. Very unusual. So our program manager, Tack, just had to go and grab it by the scruff of the neck and throw it in the back of his van, because nobody else from Free the Bears was around. We didn't have any transport crates or anything at that point. He got there within 10 minutes of the call. And then we alerted the rest of the team, and they raced down with a transport crate and took the bear out of the car and into the crate and brought him up to the sanctuary. He was a really, really traumatized and terrified, really tiny cub, just a few kilos. Like little Morris here, he was only 2.8 kilos when rescued in March. Super tiny. So they haven't been, they must have been taken from their mother very young. Their mother's probably killed by poachers. And anyhow, so Morris was so small that he actually had to be bottle fed and hand reared. So he was quite confident, got used to humans quite quickly. But the other little cub, who was a bit bigger and didn't need to be bottle fed but still needed milk, but was terrified of humans, so he just had milk feeds from the bowl and eventually built his strength and got bigger. Here he comes now. Hello, little 120. Actually has a nickname, Bertie. We've got Morris and Bertie here. So they were actually introduced not long after he arrived, after he'd put on some weight and finished his 1 month of quarantine. And Morris has been such a benefit to him to recover from the trauma he suffered and his fears, and help them. They can help each other build their strength and confidence. And then we have another little cub who's underneath me in the dens, number 122. He came in July. Very similar story to 120. He was actually seen up a tree in Vientiane, the capital of Laos, and it took a couple of days to get him down from the tree. We weren't involved in the rescue. Some friends at another rescue organisation got involved, and they helped out and then brought him up to us. And again, he was really, really tiny and traumatized and terrified, and he's still pretty traumatized, but he's recently been introduced to Morris and Bertie here, and they're helping to bring him out of his shell. The reason he's indoors today is because we're having construction around this little facility here today, and he's pretty scared of any banging or noises, so he's just staying indoors. Maybe we'll see him another day. Really unusual situation to find little 120 Bertie and 122 in city urban centres. It would never normally occur, so the only possible explanation is that poachers or smugglers were trying to take the cub into town and sell them. And the cubs are pretty wild, and even so small, they're quite dangerous and bitey and scratchy. And we'd say in both cases the cubs escaped the captors, and that's why they just ran off and were seen by other people who contacted the rescue organisations and the government to have us collect them. Oh, a nice little fruit pile you found, fruit and veg pile, and bring them to our sanctuary for rehabilitation. Hello, Michael says, amazing work rehabilitating these beautiful bears. Thank you. This is only my second ever YouTube live. I couldn't make the comments work the first time, so I can see the comments now, so feel free to ask questions. So because these bears never learnt survival skills from their mothers, they're so young, and they're generally quite humanized by the time we receive them. and there's a lack of safe and protected forest, we generally have to care for them for life. So we have almost 300 bears in our care. Look at that, reflector bear and real bear, reflection bear, Morris. We generally have to care for them for life at our sanctuaries, so that can be 35 years or more for moon bears. They're an endangered species, so every individual is really important for the survival of the species, and we have to be really thoughtful and careful about what happens to them. However, that being said, Free the Bears in the past has been all about rescuing and rehabilitating captive bears and orphan bears and bears from bear bar farms and the illegal wildlife trade. But as we develop as an organisation, we've done a lot of research into wild bears or bears, but now we also have to start thinking about having a release program in the future. So it's an initiative to try and look at, is it possible to get areas protected and safe for bears, and then also to put bears back into areas that have been depleted of the bear population through hunting. It's really vital to have bears in the wild. Morris, you're so adorable. It's really vital to have bears in the wild. We can't just accept the fact that all wildlife is going to be taken from the wild and only ever live in zoos and sanctuaries. So, we have to start protecting wild areas, ensuring that wildlife populations that are there are protected. And in the case where wildlife has been depleted and there's an opportunity to return them to wild, look at how we can get wildlife back into the wild and replenish those populations to safe and protected areas. So that's a initiative we're starting to look into. It's very early days, but we have to start somewhere. And so one place to start is to start building facilities in our own sanctuaries to prepare suitable release candidates for a life back in the wild. And that involves a totally different method of caring for the bears than normally we would do. So normally we would want the bears are already used to humans, and also we need to get the bears to trust us so that they can be better cared for by coming into bear houses and presenting their paws and claws and teeth. That's how you care for captive animals, and being used to humans and building a bond and trust. Whereas for animals that need to be released, we want them to have no familiarity or contact with humans. And so this is the first of our new facilities, which is called a pre-release stage 1. And the idea is that the animals are kept with no contact with humans, so that's why there's walls around, no chain link fence, no way for them to see humans. And we monitor them. Let me just show you around. We monitor them by having generally through one-way mirrors, so they can't see us, but we can see them. So we study them, and then we are able to open and close their slides to let them into the habitat or dens with these methods. Twisty thing. Sorry, I'm not very good with the technical aspects. Twisty thing to open and close the door so they don't have to see humans, and we can observe them through these tinted windows. And the idea, of course, is that they have no contact with humans, so if they eventually go back to the wild, they have a fear of humans, which is necessary for wild animals. Whereas if it was a bear that had been kept in captivity around humans its whole life, that's released, it would just walk into villages and be shot or killed, and there'll be human-bear conflicts, or it'll attack someone. But anyway, it means that it's very little chance it will survive in countries like this where wildlife is hunted. Very little chance it would survive. So different method of caring. This is a new facility, and we're testing the facilities with these 2 cubs. We don't think they'll be released. Not Morris, obviously, he had a lot of human contact as a young bear. But what we need to do is trial the facilities to make sure, so that we can learn what works, what doesn't work, for future potential releases. So releases may be orphan cubs that have recently been taken from the wild. We've got two separate areas. Or they may be a bear that's been trapped in a snare trap and requires some treatment and to be cared for by Free the Bears temporarily before being released back to safe and protected forest. So there's different types of candidates. So a really interesting project, something that is absolutely necessary. I know for some people to think, oh, it's terrible to ever release an animal, but it's something that's got to be done if we're going to ensure the survival of endangered species. They have to be in forests and in the wild, and populations reproducing naturally, not all animals kept in captivity. So obviously we won't be releasing bears if we think there's any danger. And it's, oh, I just thought I might bring you over to have a look at the red pandas. And yes, there's one. Oh, there's two. Maybe they heard me come over. So in Cambodia, Vietnam, we just rescue bears and care for bears, free the bears. But in Laos, we had a new sanctuary here. So we had a small sanctuary we opened 20 years ago on a piece of land the government gave to us because there was no bear rescue centres in the country. And we wanted to help bears here, and the government said, well, you can use this little piece of land at the waterfalls. Great, but it was very limited in size, so we quickly ran out of space as we rescued more bears with the government. And so we secured this new big piece of land at our new sanctuary. But the government also said to us, you know, a lot of the times when we go to confiscate bears, because it's the government who confiscates bears, Free the Bears can't confiscate bears, even though it's illegal to keep them. We work with government partners in Cambodia, Vietnam and Laos, and it's the government that has to, government officials that has to do the enforce the law. We're just there to help with the rescue and bring them back to the sanctuary for rehabilitation. But a Lao government partner said, you know, there's often the case that there's other endangered animals. Can you take other species? And we said, yes, we'd be honoured to help other endangered species here in Laos. So we've got various species at the sanctuary, and this is one of the more unusual red pandas. They're an endangered species. Unusual because they don't actually come from Laos. Like that little tunnel. They actually come from high up in the Himalayas, in the mountains. Nepal, in China, mountains of China, Nepal, Bhutan, and the Himalayas in India. And really interesting and unusual species. They have their own family, and they're the only species within that family, Aluridae. And they don't have any close relatives, but ancient relatives. They're related to maybe skunks and weasels. Skunks and what else? I'm sure you can sort of see the similarity. Fascinating. Oh, so we've got three, and the reason we have these is because they were intercepted being smuggled across the border from China into Laos, and our government partners called us and said, we've got these 6 animals, we don't really know what they are. There were 6 at that point. We think they're red pandas, and they showed us a picture, and we're like, no, it couldn't possibly be red pandas here in Laos. And turns out it was. There was 6 of them in dog crates. And so we rushed up there. I was on the rescue. It was our first rescue of 2018. I think January 2018. And lo and behold, 6 red pandas in crates, 3 of them just shivering and clearly about to die. And they did die because, of course, animal smugglers don't really care for the animals that they're smuggling. But luckily for these 3 girls, they made it back to the sanctuary and we were able to keep them alive. So they've been here with us since that period. Someone's gone right up. They have this lovely enclosure with teak trees, which they love because they're an arboreal species. They spend most of their time in the trees. I saw someone go right up into the top of the trees. I just can't see where they've gone now. So yes, a very unusual species. So they're called red pandas, and that name comes from a Nepalese word, and which was named after this species. And then the giant pandas, or panda bears, which is one of the bear species, was subsequently named. And so why do they both get the same name? Well, the reason is because they both mainly eat bamboo. Sorry, my camera work's not good at pressing buttons. They both mainly eat bamboo, and also both species have what is called a false thumb. So they have a bone that grows out of their wrist. We all have a wrist bone there. You know, that little bumpy bit at the beginning of your wrist. So what's happened in both giant pandas and red pandas is that bone has grown to extend, and they can actually use it to grasp like a thumb. like our human thumbs. So it's called a false thumb because it's not actually a thumb as in one of the digits of the hand or paw. It's a false thumb. But because both red pandas and giant pandas had developed this evolutionary adaptation and both ate bamboo, there was a lot of speculation or conjecture amongst evolutionary biologists that perhaps they're from the same species or family or same animal, until eventually it was found out that this beautiful creature has its own very own species, distantly related to anything. And the giant pandas were, of course, a species of bear. Where are you? Up in the trees there. Really beautiful animal, right? We think that the reason they're being smuggled from China into Laos was for the exotic pet trade, because people have now seen them on lots of YouTube videos. There's a lot of zoos that have breeding programs and lots of baby red pandas, and I'm sure a lot of people think, oh, I'll have one of those. What a beautiful animal. But as everyone probably should know, wildlife do not make pets. These are wild animals. If you want a pet, get a dog or a cat. They'll give you years of pleasure and joy. Wildlife don't make pets, because these creatures, beautiful creatures, mostly eat bamboo. They have a very unusual digestive system. Oh, just can't see you hidden up there. Where are you? There we go. Try and zoom. And basically they eat bamboo all day because it's not so nutritious, a lot of it. And they poop their body weight each week. Can you imagine that? Pooping your own body weight each week? So they poop a lot. So it's not the type of animal you'd want to be as a pet. And also, of course, you know, they very difficult to care for because of their unique dietary requirements. So wild animals never make pets. Get a cat or dog if you want a pet. Hello Sheila, great to see you on YouTube. These babies are doing well. Thank you. Yes, only my second time on YouTube Live. Thought I'd give it a go. I don't know how people get notified. How do you get notified? Maybe you can tell me. Does something go beep beep? Or I don't know. How did you find out about this broadcast? Is it if you're a subscriber you get a little notification? I don't know. I need to learn more about this, don't I? To see if it's worth doing more of these. I mean, I'm going to come out and watch the animals anyway after a hectic day in front of the computer screen, so I'd love to share it with you as well. So because these creatures don't come from Laos, they can't be released. And so it's a bit of a dilemma what we do with them. So because they're an endangered species, there's a whole pile of really strict laws that apply about even doing testing and sampling and transfers and what have you. So at the moment they'll remain with us, but they have a pretty good life here. They have this beautiful enclosure with big tall trees. I can see one right up the very top of the tree there. I can see a leg hanging off. Oh, don't know if you can see that. That's a long way up. So some nice afternoon sun just shining through. Let that other one go there. So it's really cooling down up here in the mountains. So these red pandas normally only ever experience a very minimum of 26 degrees. So, sorry, a maximum of 26 degrees. So here it gets in the 30s during the day. So it's not their ideal environment. But we have lots of features to help them. So ice-cooled boxes and reticulation sprays, and they have these lovely trees they can climb right up into the top of. We have misting fans to cool their environment as well. So I mentioned before that both red pandas and giant pandas have this really interesting evolutionary adaptation, a false thumb, and they both eat bamboo. So it's thought that the giant pandas actually developed that to help them eat bamboo, to strip the bamboo and eat it, whereas it's thought that for these ones, the red pandas, they actually developed it to help them climb. And if we see one climb downwards, they actually climb face downwards when they climb downwards. So they walk down head first down the tree. So they're very agile and nimble with their climbing. If nobody has any questions, I think I'm going to leave it there. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the cubs, Morris and Bertie, and the red pandas. Have a great day. Thank you for your support. Bye-bye. How do I stop this? Okay, here. Bye bye.